In 1970, the young new China became the fifth nation to send a satellite into space. As the Long March rocket carried its precious cargo towards the stars, many with their feet on the ground were reminded of another expedition that had tested the nation. Welcome to Jiangxi. This province in East China is one of the starting points of the Long March, a wartime military maneuver by the Red Army. As 2019 marks 70 years since the founding of New China, I've come here to find out about the legacy of this historic expedition. This is Xinhua Special. I'm Helen Bentley, and I'm exploring the moments that matter to modern China. After the Shanghai and Jiangxi meeting, the CPC began to reach out to those who would support its cause, the workers and the farmers. They established strongholds in rural areas such as South Jiangxi and West Fujian, which were known as revolutionary bases. Starting in 1934, Chinese Red Army units across the country began to withdraw after ceaseless assault by the KMT. In order to rejoin forces in northwest China, each garrison had to navigate different routes, but none would escape what lay ahead. Wave after wave of relentless attacks, innumerable trials, and untold hardships. This epic exercise would go down in history as the Long March. About 90,000 people departed from this location in Yidu County. What lay ahead for the men and women that crossed this river?
10,000 waters and 1,000 mountains are nothing. The Long March is sui generis. Its heroism has fired the dreams of a nation of 1.1 billion people and set China moving toward a destiny no man can yet divine. This extraordinary epic has become one of the great stories of the 20th century.
Despite grassroots support, preparations for the Long March could not be done in plain sight. When the call was made for the Red Army to withdraw, villagers quickly mobilised and made tens of thousands of pairs of these straw shoes for the soldiers in secret. Xiao's father was among those who painstakingly crafted these sandals. Okay, so put it in there and then grab it all together like this. Okay, so let me try. This is actually a lot harder than it looks.
红砖没有草鞋，不能重整，这个旧会多打，会多这个舌头会多锈。对这个草鞋一穿就不会多旧，可以跑步，可以走，就可以不会人不会吃苦啊。我的父亲应当这样做，应当我会做的时候是我不会做那个时候，如果说我会做，我也多做一点是红砖。
These are among the few surviving pairs of shoes that were worn during the Long March. They're part of a wider exhibition of items that were collected along the routes taken by soldiers.
这是当年我们于都县有一位70多岁曾大爷，他把家里全部的木材献完之后，又亲自把自己做棺材用的树木搬到家工地。树木对于老人家来说是他最珍贵的东西，但他为了帮助红军，把自己棺材本捐了出来。当时共架设了5座浮桥，我们现在看的就是当时的这种浮桥复原的一个浮桥。
For some, it would be a 2-year test of will and endurance. Others would never see the end. Of the roughly 206,000 men and women that set out for the Long March, only around 57,000 would reach their destinations.
我们以后要登3个，我们打得比较猛。我中国都拿到了这个我。 就打下一点都没有，这个袖子是大陆人家打的。
The Long March secured the survival of the CPC, Without the sacrifice and endurance of these men and women, China today would be a very different place. They laid the foundations for ideals that are intrinsic to China's national identity.
我认为长征精神的核心还是坚定信念，遇到了困难就必定不能退缩。
我觉得红军非常勇敢，坚持不懈，
没有到结束的那一刻，他们就不会放弃。
This year may mark 70 years since New China was established, but looking forward, its centennial anniversary is in 2049, and before that, the CPC will turn 100 in 2021. These two important events have been marked by two equally important tasks. One is to make sure that no one is left behind as China develops. The second is to build a modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced and harmonious. Both come under the umbrella term, the Centenary Goals. In this way, you could say that China has embarked on a new long march, one that will see it tread the fine line between economic and social development to improve the lives of its people and to rejuvenate the nation. One prerequisite of the Centenary Goals is that poverty is eradicated. Jiangxi province is actually one of the poorest areas in China, but it's also home to Jiangxi, which in 2017 became one of the first counties in China in 30 years to be officially removed from the list of the poorest places in the country. The Communist Party of China has led the world's largest battle against poverty. Since the founding of New China, over 700 million rural residents have shaken off poverty. From 2013 to February 2019, more than 82 million rural poor were lifted out of poverty in China, and the proportion of the population living under the poverty line dropped from 10.2% to 1.3%. To put that in perspective, that means that over the 6 years, more than 37,000 people escaped poverty every single day. It was in Jiangxi in May, 85 years after those first men and women slipped on those simple woven sandals, that President Xi Jinping declared that the country was on a new long march and it should make a new start. Today, the Long March rocket has been launched over 300 times, showing that not even the sky is the limit for what China can achieve. We have travelled from the first meeting of the CPC in Shanghai and Jiangxi to one of the starting points of the Long March here in Jiangxi. Next, we will move on to the revolutionary base of Yan'an and one step closer to the founding of New China by the CPC as we discover the moments that matter to modern China. I'll see you there.